All right, Karen, looks like we have enough for quorum now. So if you'd like to go ahead and call to order, I will get started with roll call.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. It is 3:01 on October 11th, 2023.
Thank you. Daniel Alexander and John Barber are both absent today. Hillary Brooks.
Present.
Thank you. Jackson Kane.
Here.
Thank you. Nancy Carter had said she will be a few minutes late. George Childress.
Oh, here.
Thank you. John Eldridge.
Here.
Thank you. Karen Lowe.
Here.
Thank you. Aquila Maxwell. Christopher Matheson.
Here, ma'am.
Thank you. Kanya Mull.
Here.
Thank you. Paul Robertson.
We're here. Yes.
Thank you. Monica Shimon Orr.
We are here. Yes.
Thank you. Joel Simmons. Stacy Spangler.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jessica Villanueva. Nancy Welch.
Here.
Thank you. And Lauren Ziegler.
Here.
Thank you very much. All right, and we do have quorum.
Okay, so we need to approve the September minutes. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve those?
This is Spangler. I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Spangler. Would anybody like to second those?
Spangler was absent last month, so she's
Oh.
unable to.
Sorry, Stacy.
Boo-hoo.
This is Mo. I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Konya. So would anybody second Mo's motion to approve the September minutes, please?
It's Matheson. I will.
Thank you, Maddie. So with that, they are approved, right, Misha?
They are approved. And there has been a change to the agenda. I know that previously we had Cheryl Sutton scheduled from the Knox County Red Book to speak. However, she had to cancel unexpectedly just a couple of days ago. And so for our presentation today, we will have Angela Jones from the CP Center of Knoxville.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. As I told you, I'm not the most tech savvy person, so bear with me if I stumble with this Zoom meeting. Thank you all so much for inviting me to talk to you about cerebral palsy. Last week was the World CP Day on October 6th, and the theme this year is Together Stronger, which I think is a fitting theme to talk about working with folks with disabilities, and particularly the folks we love here at the Cerebral Palsy Center. So I'm just going to give you a basic background of cerebral palsy if you don't know about it. It's not a disease. It is a disability that's caused by damage to the brain, either prenatal or during the birth process. It causes an abnormal development in parts of the brain that control movement. 70% of the children who, or the people who have cerebral palsy, the events happened during birth. There are some cases where shortly after birth, there may be reasons that there are some brain damage that causes it, but it's usually pre-birth or during birth. And reasons that it happens are things like asphyxia, if there's lack of blood flow to the brain, if there's an emergency and perhaps a C-section's not performed as quickly as it should, there may have been a lack of oxygen to the brain. If there's a brain trauma, if there's a lot on complications during the birthing process, then those are things that can contribute to someone having cerebral palsy. It's different for each person. It is a muscle and movement disorder. Many of the people we work with here every day have mobility issues. It's funny, someone asked me yesterday how many of the folks we work with are in a wheelchair, and I really have to sit and count because we just don't see that in people. We just see people, which is a lovely thing, I think, when you're working with others. In the US, about 1 million people have cerebral palsy. About 3 of every 1,000 births results in someone with cerebral palsy. There are more males with it than females. It most commonly affects posture and movement. A lot of times it also affects the facial muscles that are responsible for chewing or helping to swallow. So someone may have a lot of digestive disorders also if they have cerebral palsy. In Tennessee, there's about 15,000 people with physical disabilities. There's not that breakdown of how many of those have cerebral palsy, though. It is a developmental disability. It is not always accompanied with an intellectual disability. About 40% of the time, it also has an intellectual disability, but certainly not always. So the folks we work with, I think, would want you to know that if you see someone with a physical disability, it's just who they are. I have red hair. I'm a large person. So-and-so's in a wheelchair. So-and-so uses a walker. They don't chew food well, so they have pureed food. It's just a part of who they are. It's not a defining characteristic. In the whole country, about 17% of the people who need long-term care have it. So that's a vast majority that do not, who need long-term care from this disability. And in Tennessee, it's about 9% of the people who need long-term care. It is not a disease, so it doesn't progress and get worse, but neither does muscle movement come back or get any better. So if someone is born and they use a walker for a while, then they may progress to a wheelchair and have posture issues. A lot of the folks we have in wheelchairs, they also have a harness so they can sit up straight in a wheelchair, which also will aid in swallowing and eating. The life expectancy varies just like it does with all of us. The life expectancy is anywhere from 30 to 70 years old. So it's quite the spectrum. At the Cerebral Palsy Center here, we have been in Knoxville since 1956. We've been in our current location since the mid-70s. And we are on Woodland Avenue, down from the old St. Mary's, is how most people know to identify us. We offer several different programs here. We have residential support. So we have some folks who live in apartments, just like you or I may, and we have 24/7 staff who are with them to help prepare food, help them with daily living tasks, with hygiene. We have vehicles where we can take them out in the community to do a variety of things. We offer employment services to help someone find an employment, and then also to job coach them through the beginning of that employment to make sure it's successful. We offer personal assistance in the home. So we have some staff who may go to someone's home where they live independently or with family, and maybe 1 or 2 days a week and help with a variety of things, whether it's taking them shopping or doing something in the home with them, just to give the family a break. We have a day program where some folks come to our facility and spend the day. Some of the things we do here, we have a cooking class. We have a reading group. We do a variety of things. We also have folks every day who go out in the community. Yesterday, we had a group that went and delivered mobile meals. So they go out and volunteer in the community. Today, everyone went bowling. Every Wednesday, everyone goes bowling, and then to a park to eat lunch. They're just like me and you. They want the same things. They want love and acceptance and friendship and employment and value, and people to look past their mobility issues, which I think is a great, I love working here for those reasons. When we look at our folks, I think we see possibilities, not the limits, and we should see that in everyone always. I think they would want us to know, the folks we work with, and we've asked them, they want us to know they're capable of so much more than just the physical limitations they have. They want dignity and independence and a chance to do for others and feel valued. So that's a quick update about what cerebral palsy is and what we do here in the community. Are there any questions for me?
Do they have trouble, as Eldridge? Do they have trouble? I had a friend in high school who was very smart, and he had a pretty serious disability with respect to his speech and walking around, that kind of thing. He wasn't able to walk, but with a lot of braces and such. But he was able to go through college with me, and he did quite well. And so I'm just wondering, are there limitations that affect, if they're not intellectually challenged in some way, are there things that would prevent them from processing or performing jobs or getting out there doing whatever it is like we do?
That's a great question, and I'm so glad you asked it, because there was a point I meant to highlight and didn't even get there. We do have people who have post-high school education. We have some folks who were not able to complete high school education, so it really varies. We also have the philosophy, as does the state of Tennessee, I will say, which is to their credit, that everyone is employable, everyone. Our job is to help them find which job suits them best. We have folks who are greeters at stores. We have people who help stock shelves. There are several restaurants in town that have been so generous in taking a chance on our people and then come back and ask for more. So we may have people that do fold pizza boxes, who roll silverware, who help in the kitchen. We really feel like it's our job to find what fits the person well. I think the limitation you talk about, are there limitations? I think the communication issues. I think many employers say, well, if you can do ABC, then that's all I care about. Great, you can do it. But we have folks here who don't communicate verbally. And that's why I was saying I'm glad you asked that, because I even completely forgot that. You learn how to communicate with people if they're not verbal. We have one person that is not verbal, but I promise you, every minute of the day, we know exactly what he's thinking and what he wants and what he doesn't like, and when he's hungry and when he needs to go to the bathroom. It's all about finding the ways we connect. Verbal communication is fantastic, but it's not what everyone has, and that's okay. So then we see our responsibility is to help educate a potential employer or a teacher, if they're in a classroom setting, how someone can communicate, whether it is through assistive technology. One of the fastest growing new things in the disability world is what's called enabling technology. And it will help give some independence to some of our people. And it may be that if they have an iPad and there are pictures on there that they can touch, then that's how they can communicate with someone what they want to wear, what they want to eat. If it's someone who's not familiar with them, there's a lot of movement being made with people wearing smart watches. Maybe they don't have to have 24/7 staff. Maybe staff can leave at 10 o'clock when they go to bed, and they can check in on their smartwatches if they need someone to come over in the middle of the night. So there are a lot of new things being tried like that. It makes me nervous because I want our people to be in a cocoon and we help them through everything, but they deserve the chance to be independent like you and I are also. So, and that's never forced on someone. It's, do you want this? But to your question about what's the stumbling block? I think sometimes it for a potential employer, they do see communication, and it's our job, we feel like, to talk them through how that could work. Transportation is probably a huge stumbling block too. If you're in a wheelchair and you're trying to get on public transportation, there are options in town, but they're limited. We have a fleet of vans where we can take people in wheelchairs, but that is one of the challenges. And then another interesting challenge is family members are sometimes hesitant for us to teach someone to use public transport because, again, they want to wrap them in that cocoon. We don't just turn someone loose on the bus. We ride with them. We help them learn the routes. They learn the driver. So it's an entire process to help someone gain that independence. I hope that answered your question. I feel like I went all around there.
I don't know. It's good. I just always had to learn with him to look beyond all the trappings and problems because, one-on-one, he and I mean, he was brilliant, and he and I could connect. So the other stuff was just distraction. And
Yes.
And how do you at first it's hard. When you first
It
get
is.
home, it's like, kind of weird, and especially when you're 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
But eventually you get to the point where,
But it is just the distraction. It's not who someone is in their core. We have one, and we work with adults here. We don't have anyone under the age of 18. We have one young man here who drools a lot, and he has handkerchiefs that he wears, and we change them several times a day. He's nonverbal, and that can be distracting for new staff. It can be distracting for someone visiting. But I think pretty quickly you get past that because you begin to look in his eyes, as we do with anyone that we're talking with, and you
Right.
just get past it. We hope they do anyway. And we really, our staff is great at feeling like that's part of our work. When we go to a rec center locally and participate in a chair yoga class, it's our staff's responsibility to make sure that other people in the class or the teacher understand our people can hear you even if they can't talk to you. They can understand. Just keep going. We're good. Are there any other questions? Thank you so much for letting me talk about what we do. We love visitors. We invite any of you to come by and see us. You may want to call because they could be all out bowling or doing something else. On Fridays, they like to go to the flea market or Buc-ee's. We do regular things, and it's just a wonderful place where we try to see the possibilities every day. We all have limits in something, but let's don't focus on those. Let's focus on the possibilities of life. I want everybody's world to be bigger than it was yesterday. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
And thank you
Harrison.
for putting up our contact information.
Oh, yes, thank you, Misha. If nobody has any questions, we'll go on to our member advocacy and information. I believe that is George Childress discussing mental health.
Yes, ma'am, that would be me.
You have the floor.
All right, I appreciate you guys. And so just to throw this out there, if I do stumble, I do apologize. So just bear with me here. All right, so I just got kind of a little thing wrote out here, so I'm just going to kind of read from what I got. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you all for being here today. Many of you know me, but for the ones who do not, my name is George Childress. I've been a member of Codi since 2020, and I'm East Tennessee born and raised. I've been looking forward to today for quite some time now. And I'm not sure if the mayor is here, but I think she was supposed to be, but this is part of it. I've been looking forward to today for quite some time, not only because Mayor Kincannon was going to be here, but also because of how much this month means to me. Fall of the year has always been sort of a happy place for me. Some of the best times of my life came during the fall, but also some of the worst as well. One of the bright spots for me was the day that I married my wife, Amber. Another great memory, my parents' wedding anniversary. But for all the good memories, there is one that is not so sweet. That day being the day that I wrecked and became paralyzed. Ironically, after I woke up from my coma, I realized the wreck was on my parents' anniversary. In my dad's own sarcastic words, my wreck was the best anniversary present they got that year. I say all of that to give a little backstory and to shine a light on why I picked this month to advocate for the people in and around Knoxville that are going or have gone through the same heartache and turmoil I have had to endure for 15 years. I picked mental health as my advocacy point because it holds a special place in my heart. It holds that spot not only because of my own mental health, but also because of a family member, for a close friend of mine, and countless others who don't have a voice. We suffer and thrive for different and unique reasons, but the cause is the same at the very base level. I will talk about mental health today also because Tennessee ranks near the bottom for mental health accessibility across the board, especially children's care. Life is far too short to suffer through. Therefore, I genuinely believe that the people in my life, in my community, and beyond need better accessibility to the resources that are just out of reach for them. I speak for myself, someone who has lived with depression and had to be bounced from therapist to therapist, telling my story, sharing my deepest hurt and darkest fears, only to be pushed to yet another therapist. It is soul crushing to tell such a devastating story repeatedly to get the same results when all you've ever wanted was help.
Yeah.
Moving on from me, there is more than just depression when it comes to mental health, a lot more. One of my closest friends has schizophrenia. I see people like him roaming the streets of Knoxville daily, unable to get the care they need. I see these people suffering through life, and I think to myself, this isn't how life is supposed to be. Sure, life is going to have their tough spots, but we as people should not have to drag ourselves through the street. We should not have to go hungry. We should not have to worry if we're going to freeze to death when we close our eyes. I see these people, and I know I'm within one missed paycheck to being exactly where they are. And life is meant to be more than just that. Life is meant to have happiness and joy, but things are just getting further and further away from that. It spreads beyond just mental health, with many getting priced out of their own home. But I'll save that for another day. Another person affected by mental health in my life is a dear family member of mine. Her name is Doodle. She was named Doodle because she was born in the back of a doodle bug of all things. Talk about being cramped. I brought her up last because she is the most important. Rosa is her real name, and she is the happiest when she has a Coke in one hand and her blocks in the other. I want to talk about her because she is the most helpless. She is in a 50-year-old's body with the mental capacity of a 2-year-old. I say that with no disrespect to her because she has the eye of a hawk and the nose of a bloodhound. I worry about a lot in my life, but I worry about her the most. I only have one parent left, that being my dad. Our mom passed away a little over 8 years ago. Dad is 84 now, and when something happens to him, Rosa will be left to fend for herself. I've looked high and low for a suitable place for her, and I have produced nothing but bare results. The closest place I have found for adults like her is in Texas. She deserves to have as good a life as anyone, yet I know when something happens to Dad, she will be left in the state custody, and we all know the state is not a bed of roses. I worry that she will not have the care she deserves, and I know there are more people just like her. That is why I picked this month to hopefully shine a light on the injustices that people with mental health issues must live with daily. I speak and spread these words to show others that it is okay to have issues. It is okay to squirm. It is okay to have a bad day, but it is never okay to give up. That's why accessibility for programs focusing on this topic is so important. They give hope for those suffering from all facets of mental health, both clinically and psychologically. Let us shine a light on the disabilities that are invisible to the naked eye, so those in need of these services so those in need of these services can confidently go forward, knowing their community and government have made a priority in addressing their needs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
George.
you're
Does
welcome.
anybody have any questions?
I just wanted to say I was listening and I appreciate your presentation very much, George. It was really moving and important topic, and appreciate you sharing those stories.
Yes, ma'am, of course. Thank you for being here.
Anybody else with any questions or comments? Okay, so next on our agenda is committee reports. Bylaws did not meet. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
I have some updates. Bylaws did not meet. However, I have reached out to the city law department, and Shields is going to be getting back to me a little bit later on this month about separating the bylaws into two documents, one that is overarching, which will not change very often at all, if ever. And then another that Codi may change was with approval from, of course, Mayor Kincannon. And then I also wanted to remind everyone that membership will be meeting on December 6th at 2 p.m.
Okay, so that leaves us, transportation did meet on Monday, right? So would someone like to give us an update on how that meeting went?
Yes, this is Welch. We did meet on Monday, and we have several updates. We covered lots of information and lots of topics, but just an update on Vision Zero, which is a initiative through the Office of Sustainability here with the city. I talked about a proposed action plan, which is to reduce traffic fatalities to zero by 2030. They have applied for a Safe Streets grant, which they'll know by December if they are awarded that grant, and it will take possibly up to 5 years to complete some of the projects that they would like to work on here in the city, which will reduce traffic fatalities and different things going on with traffic patterns. Then we also talked about the Transportation Modernization Act, which deals with choice lanes. And I updated some folks, and we got shared some links out of some what that means, choice lanes versus toll roads and all that. But that's on the horizon too, because the state of Tennessee is trying to get partners for that to help with the build for that. So that's something coming in the future. Not much of an update with CAT Reimagined, because in July, they did vote on a resolution for the recommended network, letting them go forward to make the changes to their plan and the new bus network, and it should be implemented by August of 2024. So we'll look forward to hearing from them as they make those changes. And then when we had our retreat about a month or so ago, we talked about maybe connecting with some Council on Disabilities or advisory boards across the region. And I did do some research. There are advisory committees in Chattanooga, Memphis, and Nashville that I did some research and got some contact information. We would like to know what they do. Do they have stories, successes, or challenges, and any lessons learned? So I've got to do some more research and contact with them. But I know I did gather some statistical information on their website. Chattanooga quoted that 22.2% of adults in the US have some sort of disability, and 28.8% of adults in Tennessee have a disability. And that information came from, the source was the National Center of Birth Defects and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And Memphis was relatively vague on their information, so I've got to do a little bit more digging. And Nashville, theirs is called Mayor's Advisory Committee for People with Disabilities. So lots of different groups across the region, but we hope to kind of connect with them and gather some information and see, is there stuff we need to be working on, or is there some challenges or lessons that maybe they have similar things that we face, or have they resolved some issues there in their cities? And then we also talked about accessible greenways and parks here in the city of Knoxville. And even though the intergenerational playground is in the county, I shared that there's a proposed ribbon cutting. It should be finished by November of 2023. So as I get more information on that, I'll share it with the group. But an intergenerational playground is where all generations can come together and enjoy this play space. Whether you have a disability or a mobility issue, it would be wheelchair accessible. So I will share more information on that as we receive it. And then I also mentioned that 4 state parks across the state have all-terrain wheelchairs, and we shared a link about that as well. So I just thought that was interesting that even though you may have a disability or be a wheelchair user, you can still be active in whatever sports you like to do. Because even Catalyst Sports here locally, they're helping make sports more accessible for those with disabilities. So, but that's my report. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nancy. Misha, do you have updates about the strategic plan groups?
I just want to mention that Livability will be meeting on November 1st at 3:00 p.m. and Universal Design will be meeting on November 6th at 2:00 p.m.
Okay. So that leads us to new business. So anybody have it? Misha, you have new business?
I do have new business.
Great. Why don't you go tell us about it?
There are several cities in Tennessee right now, including Knoxville, that are looking to participate in the 2024 Disability Freedom and Justice Caravan. During April to September of 2024, the caravan will be traveling across America to bring disability awareness through storytelling, intersectional organizing, and celebrations. So stay tuned as we get more information and get more into this. We will give you more information. Right now, I know that Stephanie and I are working on this and attended a meeting yesterday that was about 2 hours regionally on it. We've got Knox County ADA coordinator, as well as Disability Resource Center, and then a very good advocate, Alice Wershing, that's in the Knoxville area, that are all trying to put together our resources to hopefully make this happen. I do have one more order of new business, which is I did report on the agenda that we were going to Tommy Trent's for our November 3rd social. However, I took one step in there and realized that what I was told was not exactly correct. It does not seem to me to be accessible enough and have enough space for 5 wheelchairs and 23 to 30 people that I am anticipating coming. So far, I have tried Tommy Trent's, Cafe 4, Calhoun's, and Downtown Grill and Brewery, and either they were not fully accessible, they would not take reservations, or they wanted to charge us for the space. Other options I will be trying include Aubrey's at Paper Mill. Austin's Buffet was suggested by Joel Simmons. And then another idea that I had is Texas Roadhouse on Morrell Road. If those cannot accommodate us, then the only other option that I can think of for this many people and all of the accessibility options that we're going to need is the food court at Westtown Mall. I did not realize when I talked about holding an event to have Codi be more cohesive as a group, that it was going to be quite this difficult to get this many people in one location at one time. So in the meantime, after I wrote my pre-meeting minutes, I have talked to Kennedy Concepts. They should be getting back to me about potentially waiving their fee if we move it to Thursday, November 2nd. Rather than the 3rd. And I will check my email in one moment. But it is typically $600 an hour to rent this. So if they waive their fee, and we're willing to change to November 2nd, which is a Thursday, then that would be great. Otherwise, if you all have somewhere else that you believe can accommodate at least 23 people, including several manual and power wheelchairs, that does not charge a fee and does not require the full party to arrive at the same time, please let me know.
Joel, you had a question?
Yes, I don't know if this becoming new business. First off, I didn't mention Austin's. I don't even know where Austin's is, but
They ain't got a bar.
Misha was giving me. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know who mentioned it.
Why in the world would you think I would mention the old country buffet? No. Um, I actually had dinner at Downtown Brewery and Grill last night, and I just don't understand. I get it if we all show up at the same time. Are we talking about getting together about 4 o'clock or so? 5
It
o'clock?
is going to be 5 until 8 p.m.
Gotcha. Never
And
mind.
what I am running into is the next day is a UT game. So they will not take reservations the entire weekend. Now, Downtown Grill and Brewery was willing to put us in the upstairs banquet room, which does not charge a fee. However, their solution to the 2 steps leading into the banquet room was to have employees lift those in wheelchairs. And I did not think that was going to be a viable option for us. I am getting some possibilities in chat, which is Marble City Market and Barley's. So I will continue trying to find us a good space. Luckily, we've got almost a month to get this done.
Yeah, Barley's. I've forgotten all about that. They have a lot of space and it's all wide open, both patio and indoors.
All right, I'm making notes because right now I'm willing to try just about anything.
Then my second business, if Mayor Kincannon, I'm not trying to put you on a spot. I just got kind of a question. You're probably the most qualified to explain this to us. I went to the missing middle housing presentation at the O'Connor Center last week or the week before last.
Uh-huh.
I noticed on a couple of the signs they started off with that there would need to be changes to the codes and the zoning, and they showed the areas like Lonsdale's and different ones where they were their proposal to put in the missing middle housing. And I had a couple of people that were in line go, well, how hard is that process to change those coding and zoning regulations? And I know it's not just strictly to you, Madam Mayor, but maybe if you could explain it in some layman's terms where I could explain it to others. Most people just think it's like an executive order, you can just sign it, and I'm sure there's quite a bit more to it than that. So if you could educate me, maybe I could educate others when I'm out there.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. First, thank you all for, being so engaged and working so hard on Codi and broader community issues as well. Changing the code is not something that I get to do single-handedly. Like, we're in a democracy here, and what my role is to try to understand the problems and listen to people about potential solutions, form a proposal, and then bring proposed changes to first Planning Commission. All land use changes to our zoning ordinance have to be reviewed by planning staff and commission. And then they come to City Council, and then the City Council discusses it and they read it at first reading and second reading. So that's the process. It's it's good because land use has a big impact on people's property, and also just people who don't own property yet but hope to one day be able to rent a place or own a place. And so it's that's the process. The administration hears about issues. I hear about issues. Lack of housing is a big issue. We have a lot of vacant lots, blighted property, vacant lots in our city, and middle housing would incentivize people to create more housing in those lots. In particular, instead, right now, the way the code's written, it makes it easy to do single family detached homes or really big apartment buildings, but not housing in the middle. So middle housing, the traditional kind is, say a duplex or a fourplex. And obviously, if it's new construction, it would be ADA accessible, which would be a positive thing too. But the idea is that we make the zone so you wouldn't have to get a bunch of variances to build that kind of housing. So that's the process. We recently went to, we had some community meetings. Thank you for attending one of those. And we're going to have some more community meetings in the coming weeks, and then we'll bring it back to Planning Commission in about 6 weeks. And hopefully they'll approve it. Like so many things, there's some people who wish my proposal were a little more expansive, and other people wish it were a little less expansive. So maybe that means we struck the right middle ground to it's something that's viable, but gives us a chance to learn from the, how it goes before we do something citywide.
Thank you. I know just from a layman's standpoint, being involved with the universal design, when I first was getting educated on the accessible dwelling units, I was thinking, boy, I mean, granted, that's not going to take care of all the housing, but it sure would help people out that had a family member or a relative. Could work out a couple of ways. It could be subsidized income for people in those houses, as well as housing that's available and local, real accessible for people to assist. So I was real keen on those accessible dwelling units, as long as they could get permission to build those on smaller lots. We used to call them mother-in-law's housing when I was growing.
Granny
But
flats, mother-in-law houses.
to me, that's, granted, that's not going to be like fill all of our housing needs, but it would sure be one part of the thing that if people could. But anyway, I won't take up any more of your time. That would be an answer that I can give to people when they ask me.
Well, and it would be great if, as you come across these things, if Codi could speak out in favor of things like mother-in-law flats being allowed, and encouraged, because, sometimes at these voting meetings of city council, sometimes there's I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of NIMBYism. Sometimes only the people who have a negative perspective on a proposal are the ones that show up, and it might be a tiny minority of people, but they show up, and that can have an undue influence. So I appreciate you paying attention to this. I did put in the chat for anyone who wants to read more about the middle housing proposal. I put a link in there. I also just wanted to say, if I could, just that the Vision Zero thing is very important to me and to our community. Too many people are getting hurt and killed by just moving around our city, and that's people of all, people in wheelchairs, people with some mobility impairments, and just everyday people walking, biking, driving around our city. So the Vision Zero thing is going to be a high priority for my second term. And I just wanted to let you guys know that we're going to do some infrastructure projects that will take, a long time. Infrastructure usually is things that require federal funding, take a long time to get done. But we're also hoping to have some types of projects that are more demonstration projects that we can do faster. Try them out, try new things, see how it goes, learn from it, learn that maybe, we don't like the way that worked out and we want to modify it, or we love it and want to do more of it. So that's one of the things I hope to do, is be able to experiment a little bit, not excessively, not in ways that will, without, public input and feedback. But you can't get feedback unless you try something. Otherwise, it's just an abstract idea. So I'm hopeful that we can explore that a little bit more in my second term.
Well, we'll end this on the feedback of saying congratulations on your reelection.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled.
I yield the rest of my time to the floor.
Thank you, Joel. Misha has her hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to remind everybody that city council meetings and agendas are, of course, on the City of Knoxville website, and they're posted about 3 days before the meeting. So you can go there to look and see when missing middle housing, things such as that are coming up in order to speak on them. However, Mayor Kincannon, if there are any meetings that you feel in particular would be more beneficial for Codi to speak at than others, please feel free to send me an email, and I will make sure and alert all of Codi to the meeting that's coming up.
Will do.
Okay, anybody else with new business? Okay, so the next one is announcements and public forum.
This is Spangler. I have one.
Go ahead, Ms. Spangler.
Well, I guess actually I have two. I just wanted to say that Joel and I were at the accessibility fair in Oak Ridge this past weekend, and it was a really great turnout. It was a really great fair. I think next year it'd be good for us to attend a representative from Codi. And then my second thing is I just wanted to remind everybody that KAEC's Disability Employment Awareness Breakfast is next Thursday. And Susie Rakowski, the co-founder of Project Search, will be there speaking. And she's a great speaker if any of y'all have ever heard her. And then we're giving out lots of awards to people and just celebrating 10 years of Project Search and over 100 graduates going through.
Go ahead, Misha.
I'm going to piggyback on that. The event on the 19th is at 8:00 a.m. at Rothschild's Catering. And if you would like to attend it, you're going to need to RSVP and pay for your spot as soon as possible. The cost is $25. And then Nancy Carter also wanted us to remind everybody that there is a Spark event on Saturday, October 28th. You probably saw me send that into your emails this morning. It's called the Fun Run and Roll at the Cove in Concord Park.
This is Spangler again. Misha, you can actually pay at the door. I know we've got a square and then we're bringing some money to do for cash. So you can actually pay at the door as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, anybody else with announcements or public forum that you'd like to bring? Okay, I guess we can adjourn. Risha?
That's one
It
of the
seems
quickest
very
meetings
quick,
that we
that's why I'm not sure. Okay, let's go ahead and adjourn. It is, every clock says something different, so we'll go at 3:47. Thanks, guys.
That's good.
Thank you all so much.
Bye,
Right.
y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Ah.